usually make political videos. Lately, I've been hanging out on Facebook. I'm part of this Facebook group. Can't really remember the name of it. Something to do about safe spaces from the crazies, support Donald Trump, something like that. And some of the people in that group are, I don't want to use the word discouraged, because I don't think it's really quite accurate. But they're not really quite sure how to handle the current events. And when I refer to the current events, I'm referring to the craziness that's going on the internet and in public regarding, or I should say by, the far political left, the far left, political left here in the country. And these folks don't really, they've never seen anything like it before, and not really sure, quite how to handle it. These are good people that are watching the things that are going on, and they're just not quite sure how to make of it, what to do about it, how to handle it, like on Facebook or maybe some of the other social media that they're on, forums, Reddit, whatever. First thing you have to understand whenever you're fighting a war, and you're in a war, it is a civil war. It's just not a hot civil war, i.e. we're not shooting at each other yet. Although one of them on the far left did shoot a Bernie supporter, thinking that he was some sort of Trump Nazi in Seattle back in January. So there is that. There's been violence, particularly at Berkeley in California, which is no particular surprise there. They're probably the most anti-free speech people there are on the planet. First thing you have to understand is you have to understand your enemy. Now, you have to understand the enemy. You have to understand who the enemy is. And once you understand who the enemy is, and you understand him, you can defeat him. And it's actually pretty easy to do. First thing you have to do is identify your enemy. Let me preface this by saying this. Not all Democrats are your enemy. They're not. There's not 60 million Democrats out there that want to beat you up. There's not. Most of the people that voted for Hillary or voted for Jill Stein or, I don't know, some other left-wing candidate are not your enemy. This is what I would call a relatively fringe group of people that are perpetrating the violence and the vitriol online, and they're the ones that are driving the vitriol that's going on in our society. I would say it's probably around somewhere between 1 in 5 and 1 in 4 people who identify themselves as Democrat or left wing. So keep in mind that 3 or 4 out of 5 Democrats are just they voted Hillary, they're for health care, they don't want to see gay people beat up in the streets, they're not looking to see anybody wearing pink triangles or anything like that, and that's why they voted the way they voted. Not because they want to stick you in a camp, not because they want to, not because they think you're a Nazi, or that you're an Islamophobe or homophobe or any of these other phobes that they come up with. So keep that in mind. Now, how to identify those folks from the nut jobs? Well, first of all, the people that are reasonable, the ones that I'm talking about here, these 3 or 4 out of 5 Democrats, they're not going to call you a Nazi. They're not. They're not going to call you a Nazi because they're not that kind of person. Right? They're not that kind of person. They don't want to throw out labels. Now, they may mistakenly throw out a label. They may be mistaken. I saw a great video this week. It was a guy, he was a left-wing guy. He was at an anti-Trump protest, and there was a guy with a camera that was filming him. And I don't know if the guy with the camera was right-wing or left-wing, or if he was just some disinterested party, or if he was trying to play like junior journalist or something. But he was interviewing this guy. He says, hey, what about this guy over here? He's got a shaved head. Do you think he's a skinhead? And I don't think the guy with the camera knew the guy that looked like the skinhead. And the anti-Trump guy was like, oh, yeah, he might be, a skinhead. I mean, he's got his head all shaved down. He looks like he's kind of militaristic. He looks like, maybe he's a skinhead. So the guy with the camera was like, hey, buddy, can you come over here a moment? And the guy's like, yeah, sure. He comes over. Because everybody's being pretty civil. It's a civil protest. There's no pepper spraying. There's no fighting or anything like that. It's a pretty civil. There's some, like, metal gates separating the two sides or whatever. This guy comes over and camera guy's like, this guy thinks you might be a skinhead. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, I'm not. He said, I'm used to be in the military. I had this particular job in the military that required me to wear this particular headset. And there was a chemical reaction to the stuff that's in the headset. And I had this medical condition that causes me to go bald, but in splotches. Now, of course, if you're watching my video, you're looking at me like, well, yeah, this dude's bald. And I'm bald up here, right? I got hair on the sides, got hair on the top. I got no hair. And instead, this guy's like bald here, then he's bald over here, then he's bald over here, and then hair in between. So it looks, well, frankly, if he grew his hair out, ridiculous. So in order to deal with the issue, he shaves his head. He explains to this guy all of this, and you can see the expression on the guy that was there protesting, the left-wing guy, that he was pretty much horrified with himself. He realized that he had completely and unfairly misjudged this guy, which is exactly what the left is against, or at least what it's traditionally been against, is bigotry. And he realized he was guilty of being a bigot. And he was very apologetic. He's like, listen, I'm really sorry. I misjudged you. That guy is not your enemy. Now, he's being led astray by people who are, but he's not your enemy. How to identify the enemy? Well, this is where it gets easy. You look for the 3 V's. 3 of them. V. 3 V's. What are the 3 V's? Vile, vicious, and vindictive. Because the people that are your enemy, the people that are driving these protests, the people that are burning cars, the people that are burning businesses, the people that are smashing windows, the people that are pepper spraying young women in the face who are wearing hats that say, make Bitcoin great again, not make America great again, make Bitcoin great again. That is their traits. Look for people that are vile, vicious, and vindictive in their posts on Facebook or what they say in public. I'm 43 years old. I turned 43 this past week. And every one of the type of people that I'm talking about, the people that really are your enemy, not Joe Democrat who, voted for Hillary because he doesn't want to see gay people wearing, a pink triangle on their sleeve. Not that guy. But the ones that are driving these protests, that is the 3 traits that they have, that they will exhibit publicly, is they will be vile, vicious, and vindictive. The first thing they'll do is they'll insult you. Now, a lot of you out there that are watching this video are simply not being used to being called names. I am. I was bullied as a kid. My life was pretty much a living hell from pretty much the time I turned 18. They can call me whatever names they want. I really don't give a fuck. Because I've been called far worse by far better quality people. So I really don't care. If you've seen that video of the guy at the biker, Dave, at the inauguration, be a Dave. My name's Dave. I don't give a fuck. Or, I don't give a fuck. My name's Dave. Whatever his quote is. He just doesn't care. He doesn't care. And you shouldn't care what they call you. They call you fascist. They call you Hitler. They call you Little Eichmann. Whatever nasty name that they come up with. Let it roll off. Because, first of all, you know who you are. You know that you're not a Nazi. Unless it's David Duke. Unless you're David Duke and you're watching this video. David Duke, you're a Nazi. But, average Joe, Bob, Jane, Republican or centrist Republican who voted for Trump, you know you're not a Nazi. I know you're not a Nazi. You know you're not a Nazi, and your good friends know that you're also not a Nazi. And Joe Bob Democrat, who's that part of that 3 out of 4 Democrat voters, he knows you're not a Nazi either. So let that roll off. Okay, don't even address those insults. Okay, because one, it's not worth your time, and two, it's not true. And they use these insults because that is how they win arguments. They win arguments by bullying. First of all, they never win arguments on facts. They never, ever win arguments on facts. If you try to engage them strictly on facts, you'll lose. Because they'll go straight for the throat and they'll put you on the defense by insulting you. And they've been at this now for about 50 years. They've been at this really since the mid-60s. The mid to late 60s, and so they've had about 50 years worth of practice attacking people personally. Okay, not attacking their views, but attacking them personally. So they've got a lot of skill doing it. Some of these people are third generation scumbags. The vile, the vicious, the vindictive. So look to see what they come up with when it comes to an argument. Now, I'm going to give you an example of the kind of argument you would hear from Joe Bob Democrat versus somebody of the 3 Vs. Okay, you post something online. All right, let's say Facebook, and you post, let's say, we want to take away the Obama phones. That's a government program that needs to be cut. It's abused. All it's doing is enriching a Mexican billionaire even farther because all the money goes to him and his company. He's the one that owns like TracFone and Net10 and those. And all he's doing is enriching those people. If Joe Bob Democrat comes by and say, listen, people need phones to communicate. I mean, they can't get a job, unless they've got a phone number for somebody to call them back at. For a job interview, they need phones to be able to call prospective employers or 911. I mean, we're a very mobile society these days. If they're walking down the street and they see a crime or they're a victim of a crime, they need a phone to be able to make a phone call. That's the kind of argument that Joe Bob Democrat is going to use. The kind of argument that somebody of the 3 Vs is going to argue is they're going to say this: you're a scumbag. You're a Nazi. You hate the poor. You hate black people. You hate Hispanic people. You hate Asians. You're an Islamophobe. You're a fill in the blank. And they'll go straight to that, and they'll do it every time. They'll do it every time. Because they're not going to take the time to try to argue merits. They won't do it. They won't do it. They're not the type. Joe Bob Democrat will. These people will not. They never will. They'll go straight for the argument. The next thing they'll do is they'll come up with a sob story, which 90% of the time you'll find out later is bullshit. They'll come up with some sort of ridiculous sob story. Oh, my wife died, and my 4 kids can't help me, and I need this and I need that. This is after they've insulted you. Okay, so they're already going to call you Nazi, and then they're going to come up with this bullshit sob story. Now, why do they do that? Well, first of all, they want to put you on the defensive. That's why they're insulting you. And then they want to try to sway people's opinions toward them with the sob story. Okay? How do you beat those people? How do you beat somebody that calls you a Nazi and then comes up with a sob story? Well, this is where you have to understand where their weaknesses lie. If you talk to any military general, he's going to tell you the same thing. You analyze the enemy's modus operandi. You analyze what the enemy's capability is, and then you exploit his weaknesses. What is their weakness? They're arrogant. They are incredibly arrogant. And that is your biggest weapon. That is your in. That is the way you defeat these people, is you turn their own arrogance against them. Now, what do I mean by arrogance? First of all, they think they're smarter than you. And they'll post this every time. They'll say, oh, well, I went to University of California, Berkeley, and I got an advanced women's studies degree, or I've got an advanced degree in nursing, or I've got an advanced degree in IT, or I'm an attorney with the bar. So they'll come up with this story that they have, and they may actually have an advanced degree. They may not. But that's what they'll do. They'll throw their education in your face. Education is not equal intelligence. It never has, and it never will. One of the smartest men I know, who's my uncle, got C's and D's in high school. He's the smartest man I know. One of the smartest men I know. You give a problem to my uncle, and he'll fix it. He'll figure it out. And he'll do it a lot quicker than any of these nitwits that you're dealing with online. So that doesn't equal intelligence. Okay? Don't just brush that off. You're going to use that. That is yours to use. Now, the next thing that they do is they love to run their mouth. That arrogance leads to them to go, and they run their mouth. Listen carefully. Listen very carefully. And read very carefully. I'm going to give you an example of how I whipped the shit out of one of these people online. I whipped him silly. I mean, we did essentially a man dance on Facebook, and when it was all said and done, he retreated from the field of battle. So how did I beat him? Well, it was Obama phones. And I basically, it was a for sale board, and some woman is making money offering Obama phones. So she's leeching off the taxpayers by signing up more and more people for Obama phones. I pointed this out. I was like, yay, leeches. This guy comes back and proceeds to call me the sort of names that I just went over. Now, rather than react to him immediately, I went to his Facebook page. So let's see what this guy's about. Let's read his Facebook page here for a moment. And I spent 3 minutes reading a few of his posts. And he's got this sob story that he posts. You know, I'm on Social Security, my wife died, blah, 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 blah. He comes up with this whole sob story. And I read his Facebook page, and all of his posts are anti-Trump. Everything. All of it. There's no, let's face it, most people post on Facebook, they post pictures of their kids, pictures of their dogs, they repost cute cat videos, what they had for dinner, where they went on vacation. That's what normal people, whether they're Joe Bob Democrat or they're Joe Bob Republican, that's what normal people post on their Facebook page. The kind of people that you're dealing with aren't going to post that on their Facebook page. It's all political bullshit. It'll all be, the 99% Occupy Democrats. It'll be stupid memes that are political. That's what you're going to deal with. So I read where he says to the British post, I'll move to England. I won't be any kind of a burden, anything. But he claims. Now, again, the story, we'll get to the end of the story, but his whole sob story is bullshit. He claims that he's, on Social Security, and this woe is me, and he's barely making ends meet. He had this massive heart attack. He can't work. Yada yada yada. And I destroyed him. And it was so easy because he ran his mouth long enough between what he posted on Facebook and the sob story, which turned out later to be bullshit, that I wrecked him. And the way I wrecked him was pretty simple. I said, oh, wait a minute. Whoa there. You said on this date and at this time on your Facebook wall that you wouldn't be a burden. Yet, here you are, living on Social Security only, and food stamps, and needing a government-funded phone. But you're telling the British that you're not going to be a burden, yet here we are with you being a burden to us, to the taxpayers. And I went to bed. Get up the next morning, And the first response after that post was another gentleman who said, "Dude, you just got served." Um, and then the guy really just tried to lay into me at that point. He laid on the sob story. Just really thickening it up. He claimed he had all of these advanced degrees. He claimed basically he had an advanced degree in law, IT, and nursing, which is, of course, completely bullshit. And he basically dug himself even deeper. He dug himself deeper because here's somebody who's claiming that it's this woe is me story, that he needs all this government assistance to live, yet he's got this ridiculous amount of advanced degrees. And my response was, so a guy that's got a bunch of advanced degrees, somebody that's as smart as you, completely and totally failed to prepare or plan their retirement years. You had no Roth, you had no insurance, either life or disability, and no 401k. And at this point, the argument was over. I'd made him look like a complete fool, and it wasn't difficult because I let him do it for me. At this point in the story, he just goes full. He just tries to cut me down, and he's making all these homophobic comments like, "Oh, you can do this, you can do that." And of course, you got an idea of what that might be. And I let that roll, and then I laughed at him and said, "Well, you did a shitty job of planning your retirement. I mean, here's little woe is me. I mean, I just have an associate's degree from a little community college, and I got a Roth and I've got insurance. I mean, I'm gonna retire with more money than you. I mean, I'm not a very smart person. I'm just some dude that's got a little old degree." And he continued with more homophobic comments, and that's when I just went ahead and buried him. And that was, what's up with the homophobic comments, buddy? You're, I thought you people were, you people on the left were like, all tolerant and stuff. You apparently don't like gay people. What's up with that? And that was it. Not another response from him. He deleted all of his posts in the thread. I screenshotted everything. That's another thing. Screenshot everything. When you're arguing online. That way, when they try to go back later and delete something or edit something, you have the proof of what they said. And he deleted the whole thing. He left the field of battle and deleted his Facebook account. And I found out about it a couple hours later that the whole entire sob story about his wife dying, the 4 kids, him going bankrupt, the whole thing, the entire thing was a lie. Because I Googled his name, and the first thing that came up was his Twitter account, where he claims to be gay. So either he's lying on his Twitter account that he's gay, or he was lying to his wife for like 40-odd years that they were married. I don't know which. But his story was complete and total bullshit. And you're going to run into these people. This is the sort of vile, vicious person that you're going to run into. They're going to insult you. They're going to call you every name under the book. Don't fret it. Don't sweat it. Read what they post. Let them run their mouth long enough. And then turn their own words on them. It's not difficult to do. Just read and comprehend what they're saying. If they're saying, "Oh, I've got all these advanced degrees and I can't get a job," well, that's because you suck. It's mockery. And there's no defense against mockery. If you mock them, they can't defend against it. And I did. I mocked the guy's ability to plan his retirement. I mean, here's somebody that's supposed to be super intelligent. That's what he claims. He's super smart. He's got all these advanced degrees. I just mocked him. I'm like, you did a shit job of retirement planning, buddy. I mean, and that was it. Won. He left the field of battle. Goodbye. Gone. Everybody laughed at him. And he deleted all of his posts, and then reposted all the pictures that I had screenshotted of all of his arguments, so that anybody else that read the thread knew the bullshit that he had posted. So that was a win. And that's how you beat these people. That's how you identify them. Again, Joe Bob Democrat, that 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 out of Hillary voters, are going to be reasonable, nice, decent people, and 1 in 5, maybe 1 in 4, is going to be a horrible, vile, vicious, vindictive person. And that's the ones that are throwing punches, pepper spraying, beating people in the streets, burning cars, smashing windows. Those are the folks.